impossible. China is not a true threat to America. Let me explain why. 1. China knows better than to challenge the US, let's be honest, provoking the world's largest economy and a nation which won in 2 world wars would be beyond unwise. China knows this very well. The anti-American rhetoric you might see in Chinese media, it's not about real hostility. It's a calculated move to create the illusion of an external critic target. Why? To shift the focus of their own people away from domestic issues, build up nationalism, and give the public something else to rally against. This tactic has been used since the Mao era, so it's nothing new. China's actions are defensive, not offensive. They're about maintaining control and ensuring their own security, not directly confronting the US too. Economically, big gap between USA and China. Yes, China is the second largest economy, but the gap between the two countries is enormous. People often see Chinese products flooding the market and assume they've taken over. But let's put that in perspective. The money China makes from exporting cheap products, a significant portion of it flows straight back into the US through investments in American bonds, US Treasury securities, and infrastructure. So who's really benefiting here? The US gains far more than it loses. And let's not forget, China's economy is heavily dependent on its government's policies, which are constantly changing. It's fragile, and it can be disrupted overnight by a single political decision. 3. Power. Quantity doesn't equal quality. Sure, China has lots of soldiers, lots of equipment, but modern warfare isn't about sheer numbers. It's about technology, intelligence, and innovation. The US excels in all of these areas. Meanwhile, China's focus is largely on regional security, not global. They may have expanded their capabilities, but they never show they're in a position to compete with the US on a global scale. 4. China's biggest obstacle is itself. This is the most important point. China's government doesn't prioritize long-term economic development. Their primary focus is maintaining control over the country. Take their COVID-19 response as an example. For 3 years, they implemented some of the strictest lockdowns in the world, crippling industries and livelihoods in the process. The government wasn't just managing a public health crisis, it was showcasing its ability to exercise absolute control. If you study China's history, you'll notice a recurring pattern. Every few years, the government launches large-scale campaigns that disrupt progress, resetting the economy for political purposes. Long-term development often takes a backseat to these displays of power. So, why the obsession? Why does America seem so focused on China? Because USA need to set up a competitor also. It's easy to look at China's surface-level growth and assume it's a looming threat. But dig a little deeper, and you'll see a country constrained by its own internal challenges and short-sighted policies. China isn't on track to replace the US, they're on track to repeatedly